Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Boom. Okay. Pshin, boom. Star Wars.
A couple of weeks ago on the Face Space, I mentioned that I've recently started watching Trump rallies, and I actually have. And the reason that I have is because anytime I see a clip of Donald Trump, whether it's an interview or whatever context, doesn't matter. Anytime I see a clip of him or hear a clip of him, whatever he says is always the most unhinged or dumbest shit I've ever heard. So I figured his rallies, he's got to be a little extra, or maybe a lot of extra. And so I wanted to check it out. And I got to tell you, man, it is tedious watching. It is tedious to watch multiple hours of Donald Trump rambling incoherently, being angry that consequences exist, or the fact that not the entire world shares his delusions. But that being said, every now and then he lets out a real fucking banger, man. Something happens or he says something that makes all that tedious bullshit absolutely worth it. Like this.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
Four possibilities there. The first, he simply just shit himself. This is a man of advanced age. He is a senior citizen, and senior citizens do have a certain tendency to shit themselves sometimes, or more than sometimes, and I'm not judging them. It's just a fact of life. Senior citizens shit themselves. Personally, I look forward to getting to that age where no matter where I'm at, any time of day, anywhere, anytime, I can just shit myself and everybody's just cool with it. They're like, he's old. What are you going to do? Right? So I'm not judging it. The possibility is that he simply just shit himself. I mean, by this point, he had been on stage for quite a while already, and possibly before he even got on stage, maybe he felt a little something rumbling up in his boiler, but he figured, oh, it's probably nothing, or I can get through it, and everything will be just fine. He was up on stage, rambling incoherently, yapping away, and then it came to a point where he figured, oh man, this fermentation, this is something serious going on, and it's coming out, and there's nothing he can do. He was squeezing his butt cheeks, right, and trying really hard to keep it in there, like, like that. But being a senior citizen, his muscles aren't as strong as they used to be, and they can't clench for as long as they used to be able to. So finally, he came to a crossroads where he realized this was happening, and he just let it go. He let it go, and then he just kept cruising right along.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
But the one thing that makes me doubt that is I feel like if had he shit himself right there and then, and he might have, gotten self-conscious, as he's extremely self-conscious about everything, he might have tried like repackaging it as something grandiose, right? He feels like, oh man, I think people realize I just shit myself. So he just comes out with it. Says, folks, I just shit myself and nobody shits themselves quite like me. Like makes it seem something great. And of course, the people in the crowd, they'd buy that shit up real quick, right? No pun intended, but they'd be all over it. By the end of the week, there'd be MSYGA shirts and hats floating around the internet. Make shitting yourself great again. Real men shit themselves. And I could really get behind that last statement because, what seems more manly to you, right? Some guy that's dancing around trying to hold it in, trying to get to the bathroom with this awkward run-walk combination, or a dude that just stands there and says, you know what? Done. But what also would have been great is if he tells the crowd, folks, I gotta take a little break. And then he, goes off stage for about 2.5 hours, comes back and tells the crowd, folks, I had to take a little break, had to go drop a turd, and nobody drops turds quite like me. It was a beautiful turd, perfect length, perfect girth, Everybody who's seen it says they've never seen anything like it. Everybody's talking about it. It's a great turd. Tremendous turd. Everybody knows. You know, doing this whole shtick, as he usually does about anything that he's ever done. That would have been kind of great, wouldn't it? So maybe whatever happened there was him shitting himself. That is possibility number one. Possibility number two is a little less cheeky, a bit more cringy. You know when you're doing something random, whether it's washing the dishes or driving along in your car or folding laundry or drawing a picture or doing whatever hobby you have, and unprompted, an idea pops into your head or a mental image of something just out of nowhere, out of the blue, boom, it's there. You don't know why. And usually it's nothing or it's something cheeky and you smirk to yourself. Well, I think that's what happened to Daddy Donald. A possibility. 2 of 4. That a mental image popped into his head, and that mental image was Ivanka riding a missile through the air with her bongos hanging out. Just for the record, that's not actually Ivanka. It's just sort of a illustration of the point I'm trying to get across. But that image came to his mind, and you might be thinking, well, that's crazy. That's his own daughter. Why would he think that? And this is not my own invention. I'm basing this off of things he has said himself.
Yeah, she's really something, and what a beauty, that one. If I weren't happily married and, you know, her father.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass.
Yeah.
She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
It's
She's
unbelievable.
tall. She's almost 6 feet tall.
What's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that. I said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop. You know what? You are sick.
Daddy Donald, you dirty dog. You dirty old man. To say that about your own daughter, your own child, that's pretty fucked. That is...
Oh, that's greasy.
That's really fucking greasy.
Yeah, it's greasy. Greasy.
Yes, it's very greasy, and it's also very, how can I put it, it's very, and obviously that wouldn't really be that big of a deal breaker for that part of his base, because there is a great preponderance of his base who, with their own family members, so obviously they'd be cool with it, and honestly, most of his base would be pretty cool with it. They wouldn't care. Can you imagine, though, if Melania decided to divorce him? And if she did, honestly, nobody would be surprised, except maybe Donald, because, you know, he doesn't have any situational or self-awareness. But let's say she divorces him, and then he starts dating Ivanka. I mean, sure, it would be greasy, it would be fucked, it would be nasty, but it would also be kind of funny. And eventually, at some point, he's going to get asked about it during an interview, and no matter what he says, it's gonna be fucked. But it's also going to be great. Completely unhinged. Ivanka is a special girl, and she deserves to have her cheeks clapped by the best, which is me. Crooked Joe Biden, he couldn't clap him like me. Kamala Harris, she couldn't clap him like me. Jared Kushner, great guy, who's Jewish, by the way, have I ever told you that? He couldn't clap him like me. Everybody knows I'm the best at clapping cheeks. Nobody claps them like me. Look it right there, give it a little clappity clap. You can ask Melania, she'll tell you nobody claps them quite like me. Don Jr. I think you get my point. Maybe it would be exactly that, or similar, or not at all like that, but whatever it was would be batshit crazy. And I would love every second of it. So let's go ahead and take a look in real time, that thought entering into his head.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will we be doing? Oh.
Listen, I also realize that he did say dating his daughter, right? But I think we can all read between the lines, and what he really meant was he'd like to get her in bed and
Drill, baby, drill.
bing bong. Possibility number 3, and this one, frankly, I think is probably the least likely. But basically, we all know, everybody knows, Donald Trump has a very narrow bandwidth. Keep that in mind. Very narrow bandwidth. However, he's got floodgates that are immense. And when those floodgates open, a lot of shit comes out, right? And that when that shit comes out, it's got to go through that very narrow pathway, that very narrow bandwidth that he has. And naturally, it gets clogged with shit. And when it gets clogged with shit, his whole system has to reboot, right? When it reboots, it clears that clog and he can keep on going. Now, normally this happens behind closed doors, but this time it just so happened to be when he's up on stage at one of his rallies, and we all seen that reboot happen in real time.
We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will be doing. Oh.
But it's just a possibility. I don't think that's the most likely. So far, number 2, I think, is the most likely of what happened in that clip. Now, number four was my initial thought. Like, when I saw that happen, I thought right away, this is what happened. And I thought that his very last brain cell, the very little last synapse, last brain cell, I thought it just finally died. And when that happened, I was fully expecting him to just keel over, fall on stage, and that's it. But he kept talking, so obviously that wasn't the case. But those are my theories, my hypotheses, if you will, of what the hell that was, because that's not normal. I guess there could be a number 5, maybe like a mini stroke or some shit. And if that's the case, that's not funny. It's kind of funny, but not really. Now, I know some of you might be thinking this is some kind of doctored video that somebody made and it's fake news, but it's not. I got this video from RBSN, Right Side Broadcasting Network, from his rally in Greensboro, North Carolina in I believe it was March 2nd of this year. And so if somebody doctored that, it was them. And this was a live stream. I'll link down to it in the comments or wherever I can, with a timestamp where you could go watch it yourself. I'm not making it up. Nobody else made it up. That actually happened. Whatever the hell that was. Those are my thoughts on it. I would love to hear yours. Perhaps you have a hypothesis that makes way more sense than the shit I was just talking, because mostly I'm being cheeky, but could be true. Just a little bit. One of those things, maybe even all of them. Who knows? Tell me what you think. And as I come across more juicy tidbits from Trump rallies, I will be sharing all of them with you. All the funny shit, all the crazy shit, all the weird shit. And Trump being Trump, God knows there's plenty of it.